There's a fight brewing between the New South Wales government and the Commonwealth, and it's kind of deepened as the Premier demanded an explanation as to why the state will receive less GST under the latest carve-out. New South Wales Treasurer Daniel Mookie will join me on the program next hour. But for now, let's talk to the Independent MP Dai. Dai, we've been talking about this for quite a while on AM Agenda, and really in Canberra, when you go to Parliament, both the major parties are like really delicately handling this because they need those seats to win government. What do you think should happen here?
Look, I think that the Labor government should really revisit this GST carve-out, and I agree with the New South Wales Treasurer that New South Wales takes a lot of the population, carry a lot of that weight. In particular, I have to say, Fowler carries the burden of population growth in Western Sydney. There's a huge population growth, and yet there's no money, invested to develop the infrastructure and services to cater for that sprawling. If you come to Western Sydney, you actually should come out one day with me, Laura, and you should see the sprawling, the growth, the population growth, and there are houses being built, but there are roads, no public transport. And it's just really disconnected. So I think that the government have to really revisit this whole deal because, as I said, like New South Wales, we need the money.
I wonder what your perspective then is on this toll suggestion that the toll on the harbour crossings should be two ways, and that should alleviate some of the toll roads or make it a little bit cheaper for those living in Western Sydney. Is that a good idea?
Oh, look, I don't know what is the best solution, but I can tell you something. Western Sydney and people in Fowler pay the most tolls because we go, out to the city, into the east to work.
So what are we talking? What is that a day?
Oh my gosh! I know the other day somebody said to me that that they can be up to about $60
a day.
To travel. Yes, to get to travel to different parts of Sydney. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's a lot of money. How can people afford that, especially at this time of cost of living crisis? So really, we need to revisit the whole toll system. We're completely tolled so much out here in Western Sydney. It's unbelievable. And so for our Australian, workers, the individuals that are traveling for work using cars, high petrol as well, mind you. And that's why I keep on saying, please, Prime Minister, Treasurer, you need to extend the excise fuel tax cut because our community here in Western Sydney and in Fowler in particular are paying that through their nose, and then tolls as well. So really at this point of cost of living crisis, I can't kind of emphasise enough, if the government is for the working Australians, that they have to do something immediately for working Australians to support them through this cost of living crisis. There's so many things that the government can actually act now. And now with the GST, we're getting the least or, out of it. I think in 24 years, the biggest reduction, something has to be done to address the needs of our state and our community.
Yeah, the Treasurer is giving a speech at 12 o'clock today, Eastern Daylight Time. And this is pre-budget. It's a CEDA speech. And we always like to read between the lines here. And what we know is in a preview to this speech is that he's going to warn that, iron ore, we're still getting good prices for it, which is good for the budget, but they're not as high as they have been historically. So that's coming off just a little bit. He's worried about global factors, of course, slower economic growth, but says there will still be more cost of living relief in this upcoming budget for struggling households. Now, I don't know how he categorises struggling households, but what do people need in your electorate?
In my electorate, as I have said, excise fuel tax cut because people are driving. 46, nearly 50% of our population drive, use their car to drive to work. HEX, I keep on calling the government to really freeze the HEX debt.
Have you got any FaceTime on that issue? And have you had a good response from anyone in government? Jason Clare is one of your Western Sydney neighbours.
Yeah, well, the other day when I asked the Prime Minister about, calling him to freeze the HEX debt, he did not answer the question. So did not give me an actual, any clarification where the government is on that. They talk about the University Accord, they talk about the statutory tax cut. So I'm thinking, well, that has nothing to do, with the HEX debt, because that's not going to cover the $15 that the government is now spruiking as they've done something, is not going to cover for the increase in insurance. I had actually a Bring Your Bill day yesterday, and people were coming to me saying, my insurance has gone up. They said, I'm not covering, I can't cover for content. I'm just covering for house now because it's gone up a lot. And I've been talking on this program with you probably since last year about the rise in insurance, right? So people are now coming to me saying that the insurance has gone up. Their electricity has gone up. The gas bill has gone up. And as I said, the government has to be very honest and transparent with the public and say, we're going to live with an increase in electricity prices moving forward. There is no reduction in electricity prices, everybody, and the government has to be clear and transparent about that and tell people you have to carry the burden of increased electricity prices, and what will the government do about that now? So, so for me, they have to be upfront about the cost of living, and $15 in the statutory tax cuts for our community will not be enough to cover all of that increases.
Well, we'll see what happens at midday today, and we'll see what Jim Chalmers has to say, and we'll speak to you again next week, Dai. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Laura.